Hey, good morning. Happy Thursday. It is Thursday, September 19. Welcome to the Bill Press Show this Thursday morning. Good to have you with us as we take a look at what's happening around the country, around the globe, and right here in our nation's capital, where you'll find us in our studio on Capitol Hill. We'll tell you what's going on. You tell us what you think about it all. You can give us a call at 866-55-PRESS, of course. Join us on Twitter and send us your comments on Twitter at BP Show and on Facebook, facebook.com/Bill Press Show. We want to hear from you. We want to get you involved in the conversation. As announced yesterday, President Obama will attend a memorial service this Sunday for the victims of the massacre at Navy Yard last Monday morning. The president once again called on to be mourner-in-chief after a mass shooting in this country. Meanwhile, Washington is getting ready for another royal battle over the budget and a possible government shutdown. Republicans said yesterday they plan to drop the nuclear bomb, even though the Wall Street Journal has said it's a bad idea, even though the Business Roundtable, even though Senate Republicans, even though John Boehner himself has said it is a bad idea to shut down the government. It could wreck this economy. The most extreme members of the House Republican caucus say they don't care. They want to shut down government unless we completely get rid of Obamacare. And yesterday, John Boehner waved the white flag, caved in to the extremist Tea Party members of his caucus, and scheduled a vote to defund Obamacare for this Friday. making him the worst speaker, the least effective speaker in the history of the House of Representatives. And that is saying something. All that and more coming up on The Bill Press Show.
This is The Bill Press Show.
Don't look at me. Your hair's a bit frizzy today. Oh, you should pick that up. Oh, you're such a dork, loser. Here, let me help you with that. Oops.
Every day, kids witness bullying.
Oh, look. Your crush is looking at you. Poor you.
They want to help, but don't know how.
See, no one here's gonna help you, because no one
Teach your
likes
kids how to be more than a bystander. Visit stopbullying.gov.
If you drive buzzed, it could cost you around $10,000. You'll face major legal fees, major fines, and steep insurance penalties. You could lose everything. Nothing kills a buzz like getting pulled over for buzz driving, because buzz driving is drunk driving.
When some people struggle with their mortgage payments, they become frozen, petrified. Not knowing what to do, they do nothing. But the people who take action are far more likely to get the most positive outcome. Making home affordable is a free government program. Call now to talk one-on-one with a housing expert about the options that are right for you. Real help, real answers, right now.
Here at the GED Pep Talk Center, we have pep talkers standing by to get you motivated for your GED diploma. Text the name Terry to 69222 for a sympathetic pep talk.
You show people what you really are.
Or for a gentle pep talk, text the name Deborah.
You know you're going to make people very proud of you.
And if that's not enough, text the name Danny for an extreme pep talk.
Prove everyone wrong. Show them you're the boss.
Get your GED pep talk and find free GED classes. Text the name of the person you want a pep talk from to 69222.
Did you see the world differently? Did you celebrate the victory?
So today, I state clearly and with conviction America's commitment to seek the peace and security of a world without nuclear weapons.
Did you stand up against our greatest threat? Change the world.
Broadcasting around the nation, on your radio, on your TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
The Dow and the S&P soaring yesterday to a record high. The Fed and President Obama delivering the goods on the economy. Good morning, everybody. Yeah, until the Republicans wreck it. Good to see you today. It is a Thursday. Here we go, September 19. Thank you for joining us today. And we welcome you, all of our listeners on Progressive Talk Radio, welcome you to the Bill Press Show this Thursday morning, to the news of the day, to our conversation about the news of the day, and to the great guests that we have lined up for you. We also welcome you If you happen to be watching on Free Speech TV, good to be your newest offering on Free Speech TV. You know how to find us on the satellite dish, on the Dish Network, or Direct TV, either one. And those of you watching online, streaming online, the video stream available at youtube.com/TawkrTV. You know how to spell Talker by now, TAWKR TV. A whole new operation, and again, very proud to be part of their new lineup. Lots to talk about today. Boy, I'm telling you, the House of Representatives, the Republicans in the House yesterday saying we are going to do it. We are determined to do it. We're going to shut this government down. And even though most leading Republicans and Republican organizations have warned them not to even try it, John Boehner says, if that's what the most extreme members of the House want, then that's what we're going to get, and he's scheduled to vote on Friday. More about that, but let's get right into it here with Peter Ugburn and Dan Henning.
Hey.
Good morning.
Hello, guys. Alicia Cruz is there standing by. Take your phone calls at 866-55-PRESS. And Cyprian Bolding, who's got all the filters up, trying to make us look as good as possible on the video camera.
Put a little extra Vaseline on my camera this morning, Cyprian. It'll get that.
Man, we really need it. So, boy, I stayed up late last night, trying to figure out how I was going to spend that $400 million, and then they announced the Powerball winners, and
how'd you do?
Didn't quite make it. I should have listened to her. Sue Dooley, who's a spokesperson for the Powerball people, announces one winner.
Tonight's drawing, that was worth an estimated $399.4 million. There was one grand prize winning ticket sold in the state of South Carolina.
Lexington, South Carolina. Where's that, Peter? Do you know Lexington?
Sort of upstate. It's not too far from Columbia. State capital, yeah.
All right. One lousy ticket. Now, why be greedy? You know what I mean? I would have been happy to have been one of 10 or 12 people who won,
Spread it around a little bit.
By the way, if you do, if you're luckier than I am, and you get that one winning ticket, Sue Dooley says, here's what you ought to do.
The first thing we always suggest is to sign the back of that ticket and make sure that they signed it, before they do anything else with it. Put it in a good place. Get some sound legal and financial advice, and then come on in and claim your prize.
Well, see, I already signed the back of my tickets.
Did you?
That was ready to go here, right? Yeah. Right.
The power of positive thinking.
But last time I spent $6 and won and got 11, so I came out 5 ahead.
Okay.
This time I didn't get one stinking number.
How many did you buy?
3.
Okay.
That's sort of my limit here. But anyhow, anybody else have any tickets? No.
I don't play the lottery.
I didn't buy this time.
I'm the only sucker.
Oh, Cyprian did. So he's ripping his up.
I knew I wasn't going to win this time, so I didn't buy.
Yeah, I'm ripping mine up too. All right.
Yeah, rip them up.
There you go. Coming up, we've got 2 outstanding members of Congress, Barbara Lee from California and Steve Israel from Long Island, both joining us this morning with lots to talk about. And we'll start out this hour, just a little bit, about 20 minutes from now, with the moms demanding action for gun sense in America, who have had a big impact on Starbucks. And yes, John Boehner says, shut this government down. But first,
this is the Full Court Press.
Other headlines to know as you walk out the door this Thursday morning. Jesse Jackson Jr. may be heading to prison in November, but he's certainly taking time to enjoy himself before he does. The Hill newspaper spotted the former Illinois congressman at the high-end Morton Steakhouse in Washington earlier this week, at the same time that the auction was going on elsewhere, selling off his items that once belonged to him, like a Michael Jackson guitar and fur capes. He was also spotted poolside a month ago at a high-end resort in Beverly Hills, saying, quote, considering his near future, he was just covering all his bases.
By the way, word to the wise.
His family out there, but I thought that he was already in prison. I didn't realize they basically said you got 6 months to live high on the hog before you go to prison.
Yeah, he reports in November.
For any aspiring or budding fashionistas out there, if your name isn't James Brown, you are not allowed to wear a fur cape. He's the only person that can wear a fur cape.
Oh, how about Liberace?
Liberace could pull off a fur cape.
With sequins.
I stand corrected.
With sequins.
Yeah, with sequins. I stand corrected.
A couple getting married just outside London, England a few days ago had quite the surprise when they saw Brad Pitt sitting at the hotel bar during their wedding. Huffington Post reports they left their wedding from the ballroom, walked up to him, and the actor immediately stood up and congratulated them and asked to pose for a picture. He was in town filming his latest movie. They could only chat for a couple of minutes. As soon as people around in the hotel noticed that Pitt was there, the mob scene started, so he had to run away to his hotel room.
That's funny. Yeah. They'll remember that wedding.
Memorable wedding, yeah.
And Ford is introducing a slower, more fuel-efficient police car. This won't matter to perps on
That's
high...
what we need, slower police cars.
Yeah. Well, this is not going to be used. Not going to be used for high-speed chases. The company is producing a new gas-saving Taurus with less horsepower for offices who have asked for them on college campuses, and also detectives and people in other police positions where they don't normally do high-speed chases. The regular police car package.
Buy a regular Taurus.
I mean, how do you know where a high-speed chase is going to break out? I mean, isn't the whole idea you have to be ready for something like that?
Right. Well, if you're on a small college campus in a small town, I guess, where you can't go more than 30 miles an hour.
You'd be surprised how fast you could go.
So they'll buy these new cars, save several thousands of dollars a year in fuel costs. It's about 120 less horsepower than the regular police car.
I still don't get it. It just seems to me then to buy a regular car. Don't buy a police car.
Right. Supercharger.
Right. There you go. Who knows? But big news in Washington yesterday. The latest games that are being played by Republicans on Capitol Hill. So you know what's going on. Here we go again. We've been here before several times. We're facing another budget deadline, and nowhere closer to having any sign of willingness of Republicans to sit down with Democrats and sit down with the White House and compromise to get a budget out. September 30, we run out of money. The government runs out of money unless Congress does act. And by the way, it is the job of Congress to act, not the job of the executive to act, not the job of the judicial branch to act. This is Congress's job, according to the Constitution. So they got to do something by September 30. And then either like somewhere between the 1st of October and the 15th of October, we hit the debt ceiling again, and that is either got to be raised or the United States will default. We will not pay our bills. We will be another, moocher, if you will, on the world economy and default on all the money that is owed. This is, again, the case of Congress spends all the money. Right. They don't stop doing that. They spend the money, but then they turn around now, some of them at least, and say, well, we might have spent the money, but we're not going to pay our bills. No, you can't do that. It's just like you and me. We put it on the credit card. We have to pay the credit card bill when it comes around, or at least make some kind of a payment on it. But Republicans in the House, the Tea Party members of the House, are saying, oh, no. We are not going to keep the government running. We are not even going to raise the debt ceiling. We are not even going to pay our bills unless we can defund Obamacare. Remember, they voted to repeal it already 44 times. It didn't go anywhere. Didn't have any impact at all. They were just paper votes. Now they're saying, we try to repeal it, so now we're going to defund it. And unless we can defund it, they say they are willing to shut down the government. Now, here's I'd love your take on this, 866-55-PRESS. Here's what this means. Put this in context. This is a crazy idea. I mean, think about the United States government actually shutting down. They tried this in 1994. It not only wrecked the economy for the few days it was in place, but it wrecked the Republican Party. Newt Gingrich was the speaker. He was driven out of office over this. And the Republican Party lost ground across the board because of this, because everybody knew who was responsible. Knowing that, this time, get this, the Wall Street Journal has said this is a bad idea. The Business Roundtable has said this is a bad idea. The U.S. Chamber of Commerce has said this is a bad idea. Most Senate Republicans, except for crazy Ted Cruz, have said this is a bad idea. But the House Tea Party members in the caucus, House Republican caucus in the House have said, no, 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 this is what we want to do. We're going to shut down the government if we can't fund Obamacare. Yesterday, President Obama went before the Business Roundtable and said, we've never seen these kind of games before.
We have not seen this in the past, that a budget is contingent on us eliminating a program that was voted on, passed by both chambers of Congress, ruled constitutional by the Supreme Court, is 2 weeks from being fully implemented, and that helps 30 million people finally get health care coverage.
Yeah, and the president pointed out, he called it what it really is. It's blackmail. It's extortion.
You have never seen in the history of the United States the debt ceiling or the threat of not raising the debt ceiling being used to extort a president or a governing party.
Yeah, and the fact of it is, first of all, that Obamacare is the law of the land, right? It was passed by Congress. It was debated in Congress. It was approved by Congress. It was signed into law by the president 3 years ago. As the president pointed out, it's been upheld by the Supreme Court of the United States. It hasn't even totally gone into effect yet. It doesn't do that until January 1 when these exchanges come into place in 2014. And it's already, though, helped 30 million people who couldn't get health insurance before get health insurance and do away with this business of the pre-existing condition. In other words, it's up and it's running and it's working and it's helping millions and millions of Americans. But Republicans just can't get over the fact that they lost this battle to stop it 3 years ago. And then the other thing is, why is the Chamber of Commerce against shutting down the government? Why is the Wall Street Journal against it? Why is the Business Roundtable, made up of the heads of all the major corporations in the country, why are they against it? Because it'll wreck the economy. Think about it. No Social Security checks, no Medicaid checks, no Medicare checks, no government contracts, no matter where in the defense area, no construction jobs, these government construction jobs. Just across the board. Teachers out of work. It's just it would wreak havoc with the American economy to go through this. Republicans just playing this very, very dangerous game. And what happened yesterday? Here's the point. Yesterday, John Boehner, who had told his caucus this is wrong. John Boehner and Eric Cantor both, and Kevin McCarthy, the Republican leadership, had said we should not do this because this will hurt the economy, hurt the country, and it will hurt the Republican Party. They walked into the House Republican caucus yesterday. They told them that, and the 70 Tea Party members says, we don't give a damn, we don't care, we don't give a rat's ass. We want to get rid of Obamacare, and we're willing to shut down the government to defund Obamacare. And John Boehner and Eric Cantor and Kevin McCarthy raised the white flag, and they said, fine, if that's what you want, then that's what we'll do. And they've scheduled a vote to defund the government, to defund Obamacare, and shut down the government for this Friday. These are the kind of games that they play. This is so reckless, so irresponsible. We've never seen anything like it. 866-55-PRESS is our toll-free number. Tell us what you think about this. Boehner, not only the worst speaker in history, the most dangerous speaker in history. Where is any sign of leadership? I guess we learned a long time ago not to expect any from John Boehner. Tell me what you think about it here on the Bill Press Show this Thursday morning.
Get social with Bill Press. Like us at Facebook.com/Bill Press Show. This is the Bill Press Show.
So this is my computer.
This is your computer. Let's go on the internet.
Let's go. Click it.
Yes.
Okay.
I cursor in between the R and the E. Pressing dot, I want you to just push the period.
She's gonna love me all over again.
That's it. Jamaica, here you go.
Here we go.
Good job.
Thank you. Thank you. And I did it by myself. Feel smarter.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but she's putting him in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello? That's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
So, same time next week?
Well, of course. Put away a few bucks, feel like $1 million. For free tips to help you save, go to Feed the Pig.
All right. I know this isn't any fun to talk about, but we should. Okay. So who's going to do what?
I'll pack the dead batteries.
Great.
I'll only put what I don't need into a duffel bag.
Perfect. That's totally unhelpful.
No problem.
Meanwhile, I will try to comfort everyone by speaking in a calm voice.
And I'll try to get the generator going without any gas.
Oh, let's not forget the cell phones, which probably won't work.
Right.
And who is going to handle supplies?
I can forget to do a list for us.
Thanks, pal.
Well, I think we couldn't be any less prepared. I'm proud of you guys.
Talk to your kids about who to call, where to meet, what to pack. Visit ready.gov/kids for tips and information.
Hey, thanks for stopping by. You know, I followed your character since the first episode. I'm a big fan. Big fan.
Thank you.
And listen, your storyline, it makes for incredible TV drama. Thing is, your drug use is very adult content. Too adult for the kids. So I'm gonna have to block you.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Well, have a good one.
You're a nice lady.
Is the Bill Press Show.
All right, 25 minutes after the hour, we're heading for another showdown. We're heading maybe for another shutdown of the government. Can you believe it? They did it in 1994. By the way, I noticed this morning some of the wiser Republicans said to some of these Tea Party members, look, we tried this before and we got our ass kicked. And one of them responded, well, I wasn't around then. I was in high school then. So what do I know, right? This is the attitude. They really think, first of all, they don't care, and they really think they're smarter than anybody else.
Yeah.
Ask Newt Gingrich how well that worked out for him.
Yeah, exactly. We do have a couple of comments, by the way. We're on Twitter at BP Show. At BP Show on Twitter is where you should find us. Jim says, where do I sue the Boehner Congress for the malpractice of government?
It is malpractice.
How is this defending or protecting the Constitution? And Mama for Obama, you knew she'd weigh in on this.
I love it.
GOP is willing to tell any lie, hurt the country, if they think that it will hurt President Obama. I think that is clear by now.
But by the way, you can disagree on these issues, and that's what Jay Carney made that point yesterday. Like you can say, okay, here's what you're asking for, name it, right? The Department of Transportation. No, or this particular program. No, we think that's too much. That's too little. It ought to be this. It ought to be that. And you negotiate those things back and forth, and you reach some agreement. But just to say, if we don't get our way, we're shutting down the entire damn government. And particularly if we cannot defund something that we approved 3 years ago, and the Supreme Court has said is totally constitutional, we're going to shut down the government. What is that all about? Phyllis is calling from Missoula, Montana, out there on Free Speech TV. Hey, Phyllis, good morning.
Good morning, Bill. I'm really getting sick and tired of the Republicans holding everybody hostage.
That's what they're doing, trying to do. Yep.
Yeah, that's exactly what they're doing. And I worked hard to get my Social Security check, and I count on it for medicine due to an illness. And I try my best not to ask for too much from the government. But the only thing is my Social Security check and my Medicare. And I'm tired of the Tea Party. I think it's time to get these Republicans out of the Congress and stop holding all of us hostage because they have a gripe with President Obama.
Yeah, absolutely, Phyllis. Well said. Well said. You know, nobody ever gets 100% of what they want. Out in Chicago on WCPT, our friend Joey. Hey, Joey, what do you think? Here's the latest game they're playing, huh?
I think this is a winner for the Democratic Party. You cannot serve the CEOs and protect the profits of the insurance company over the citizens of this country. I cannot believe they only care about the corporate board and the CEOs. They want to protect the profits of the insurance company and screw the Americans. I'm glad it's coming to a head. I'm glad this is happening, and the American people ain't going to fall for this. This is a winner, Bill.
Well, I think it could end up being a winner for the Democrats, but the irony here, Joey, is that the insurance companies don't want to shut down the government either because they're making money off Obamacare.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Don't look at me. Your hair's a bit frizzy today. Aww, you should pick that up. Oh, you're such a dork, loser. Here, let me help you with that. Oops.
Every day, kids witness bullying.
Oh, look. Your crush is looking at you. Poor you.
They want to help, but don't know how.
See, no one here's gonna help you, because no one
Teach your
likes
kids how to be more than a bystander. Visit stopbullying.gov.
If you drive buzzed, it could cost you around $10,000. You'll face major legal fees, major fines, and steep insurance penalties. You could lose everything. Nothing kills a buzz like getting pulled over for buzz driving, because buzz driving is drunk driving.
When some people struggle with their mortgage payments, they become frozen, petrified. Not knowing what to do, they do nothing. But the people who take action are far more likely to get the most positive outcome. Making home affordable is a free government program. Call now to talk one-on-one with a housing expert about the options that are right for you. Real help, real answers, right now.
Here at the GED Pep Talk Center, we have pep talkers standing by to get you motivated for your GED diploma. Text the name Terry to 69222 for a sympathetic pep talk.
You show people what you really are.
Or for a gentle pep talk, text the name Deborah.
You know, you're going to make people very proud of you.
And if that's not enough, text the name Danny for an extreme pep talk.
Prove everyone wrong. Show them you're the boss.
Get your GED pep talk and find free GED classes. Text the name of the person you want a pep talk from to 69222.
Did you see the world differently? Did you celebrate the victory?
So today, I state clearly and with conviction America's commitment to seek the peace and security of a world without nuclear weapons.
Did
to stand up against our greatest threat. Did you commit to change the world?
Follow us on Twitter @BP Show. This is The Bill Press Show.
Here we go, 33 minutes after the hour. It's a Thursday morning, September 19 here in our nation's capital. Well, it's actually a Thursday morning wherever you happen to be. We happen to be at our nation's capital. Brought to you today by the National Education Association, the good men and women of the NEA under President Dennis Van Rokel, creating great public schools for every student in this country. You bet. And find out more about their good work at NEA.org. If you know what a newspaper is, and if you happen to have one, if you pick one up today, you might find in your newspaper, as there is here in the one I've got in front of me from the New York Times, an open letter to the country from Howard Schultz, who is the Chairman, President, and CEO of Starbucks Coffee, saying, we have a request. Please don't bring your guns into our Starbucks stores. This is in response to a lot of pressure Starbucks has been getting from an organization called Moms Demand Action for Gun Sense in America. Jennifer Hoppe, director of their programs, is in studio with us this morning. Hi, Jennifer. Nice to see you again.
Nice to see
you
you
again. You were here before
as well.
when you launched this effort about
yes.
Starbucks.
As I recall, we were it was the day of our launch to start pressuring Starbucks in a very organized way to prohibit guns from their stores.
So their policy up to this point has been, as I understand it, we respect the law of the states. Meaning if there's a conceal and carry, if you have a conceal and carry permit, you can conceal and carry or openly carry, depending on the state, into any Starbucks. Why the change? Or is this a big change?
It's a huge change. It's an absolutely huge change, and here's why. If you read the letter, Howard Schultz says that he's stopping short of an all-out ban, but he, quote-unquote, respectfully requests that patrons leave their guns at home, which is a complete reversal from the party line that they've been delivering
which is,
every time we've asked, which is
right.
We follow local laws, we don't. So we're thrilled that Starbucks has recognized the public health and safety threat that firearms pose, and although they said again that they won't quote unquote ban them, we think it's an enormous step in the right direction. And explicitly, Howard Schultz said yesterday, guns do not mix with the Starbucks experience.
Yeah, and he does say that this is a request, not an outright ban, as you point out. But we just think that. He says, Starbucks stores are places where everybody should feel relaxed and comfortable. The presence of a weapon in our stores is unsettling and upsetting for many of our customers. So why doesn't he just ban them?
Well, you'd have to ask Howard Schultz that question. I don't know why. There are many companies such as Disney, Whole Foods that have all-out bans and seem to enforce them fine.
I was going to say, could a company say, a business say, we're not going to allow any guns in the store?
Absolutely. A private business has every right to make those kinds of decisions. And, in fact, now that Starbucks has taken this great step, we're moving on and focusing on other companies like Staples, for instance, which does not have a nationwide ban, but in certain cases has individual store owners have posted no firearms allowed signs. We would like them to codify that.
I was in a Staples yesterday. I never thought about that.
Yeah.
Somebody might have been carrying a gun in there.
Yeah, here's the thing. If you're at a Staples in Virginia, for example, or if you're at a Staples in one of the approximately 30 states that allow legal open carry with no training or certification whatsoever, you could conceivably go out and purchase a firearm without a background check and walk around with it loaded on your person without knowing how to use it at all. It's like taking a 16-year-old who's never been behind the wheel of a car and saying, have fun on the Beltway,
Oh, yeah. And this makes all kinds of sense, right? Anybody could defend that as insane.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, from a business standpoint, right? Like, I know that there are a lot of people who are up in arms and saying that Starbucks is trying to sort of limit what they can and can't do. But if you've ever gone into a business and seen somebody with a gun, it is one of the most unsettling things, and it sticks out like a sore thumb. And I wouldn't want to go back in.
Well, I'll tell you one thing. I've never seen that. If I did, in a Starbucks or anywhere else, I'd walk out. I wouldn't do business.
Well,
there.
yeah, and throughout the summer,
way.
as we were, as Moms Demand Action was pressuring Starbucks, we encouraged our moms to post photos of themselves staying at home and saying, I'll take my coffee with gun sense, as opposed gun sense referring to a sensible approach to gun safety, and that really inflamed open carry enthusiasts who then had several what they called Starbucks appreciation days in which they came en masse with not only handguns but assault rifles, and convened on Starbucks. So it was, to say it was unsettling is an understatement.
Right. And Howard Schultz points out that gave the impression, right, that they were basically gun nuts or gun enthusiasts, meaning Starbucks was, which is not what they had intended. So they didn't appreciate the appreciation days, right?
Exactly. Yeah. And, to be clear, Moms Demand Action is perfectly comfortable with responsible gun ownership for the purposes of recreation and self-defense. But we just think that guns have no place in public places like Starbucks.
Have other chains, you mentioned maybe a couple, have other chains said outright ban?
Pete's Coffee, actually, which is a direct competitor to Starbucks, has banned guns since, I believe, 2010. California Pizza Kitchen is another company that has prohibited guns. Buffalo Wild Wings is another one. So TGI Fridays, I believe. And, that gets into another whole scenario with mixing.
Cozy, Au Bon Pain, or
Cozy, I don't know. And, interestingly...
Are you going to go after these guys, too?
Well, see, I'm glad you brought that up because a lot of times these companies, if you call them and ask them directly, they may not have really thought it through.
Yeah.
So I think with Starbucks taking this step and really, putting a stake in the ground and saying we don't want guns in our environment, that will pave the way for other companies like Cozy, like Panera, to think about it and to again, because, as you said, you've not really had the experience of walking in and seeing armed patrons. So I think that it's a good first step. And like I said, they've shown leadership here, and I expect other corporations will follow suit.
Moms Demand Action. Moms Demand Action for Gun Sense in America is the full title, but the website is momsdemandaction.org. Program Director Jennifer Hoppe in studio with us. Did you ever sit down with Howard Schultz in a one-on-one or?
We intended to. We wanted to. We, over the summer, started a petition in which we said we would go and meet with or request a meeting with Howard Schultz once we hit 25,000 signatures. And close to 60,000 signatures later, we were actually in the process of planning that trip. And we woke up to this great news yesterday morning. So we would love to go and say thank you. We now have a thank you letter that people can sign online at momsdemandaction.org.
Momsdemandaction.org,
And, again, we applaud his decision. We think it's great.
So what's next for Moms Demand Action?
Well, this week, in fact, we have mothers that have flown in from all over the country to participate in a week of action on Capitol Hill. They were intended to, they came in to observe the hearings on Stand Your Ground, which were scheduled for Wednesday, but were ironically postponed due to another incidence of gun violence. But they are here.
So this was already...
It was. They were
you
literally
were already planned before Navy Yard.
Their flights were delayed by a mass shooting when they were coming here to discuss gun
That
violence.
says a lot, right? doesn't it? Yeah.
So
because of course National Airport was closed temporarily, but anyhow was closed because it's of its proximity to the Navy Yard.
Correct,
Yeah.
but they're here. They're from North Carolina, from Arizona, from Virginia, from the West Coast, just all over the country, and they've flown in. They are meeting with legislators today. They met with legislators yesterday. They're participating in an event on Capitol Hill this morning at 10:30 with the group called Mayors Against Illegal Guns. They are they've been having a bus tour all summer in which they read names of individuals who have lost their lives to gun violence since Newtown. So that's going on today.
So Moms Demand Action officially, you haven't given up on Congress then, huh?
Oh, absolutely not. And you know, I was talking to someone yesterday and he said either Congress will do something before the end of the congressional session or we'll do something in November. And that's what it comes down to. There's no excuses anymore. We're not going away. We're not taking no for an answer. We all summer long during the recess, we had lemonade stands in front of, in district offices of congressional members. We had over 40 lemonade stands with the message, if Congress gives us lemons, we're going to make lemonade and we're going to keep coming back at you until we get background checks and common sense gun reform. We had those in 20 states, all over the country. So we're here and something's going to happen.
I got to tell you, man. This is a great. First of all, it's a great battle, and I wouldn't want to be on the other side of these moms demanding action. I think I know who's going to win ultimately here, but not without a lot of help from us. It's momsdemandaction.org. Jennifer Hoppe is here. We'll continue our conversation. Invite you to join us on the other side here at 866-55-PRESS.
This is the Bill Press Show.
This is my computer.
This is your computer. Let's go on the internet.
Let's go. Click it.
Yes.
Okay.
I cursor in between the R and the E. Racing dot. I want you to just finish the period.
She's gonna love me all over again.
That's it. Jamaica, here you go.
Here we go.
Good job.
Thank you. Thank you. And I did it by myself. Feel smarter.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. You know, but it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, you know, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello? That's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
All right. I know this isn't any fun to talk about, but we should. Okay. So who's going to do what?
I'll pack the dead batteries.
Great.
I'll only put what I don't need into a duffel bag.
Perfect. That's totally unhelpful.
No problem.
Meanwhile, I will try to comfort everyone by speaking in a calm voice.
And I'll try to get the generator going without any gas.
Oh, let's not forget the cell phones, which probably won't work.
Right.
And who is going to handle supplies?
I can forget to do a list for us.
Thanks, pal.
Well, I think we couldn't be any less prepared. I'm proud of you guys.
Talk to your kids about who to call, where to meet, what to pack. Visit ready.gov/kids for tips and information.
Hey, thanks for stopping by. You know, I followed your character since the first episode. I'm a big fan. Big fan.
Thank you.
And listen, your storyline, it makes for incredible TV drama. Thing is, your drug use is very adult content. Too adult for the kids. So I'm gonna have to block you.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Well, have a good one.
You're a nice lady.
Studio with us. She is the program director for Moms Demand Action for Gun Sense in America. And they're the ones who have launched this campaign against Starbucks, which succeeded in getting Starbucks to ask people, please, please, please don't bring your guns to Starbucks. We prefer you not to. And now moms from all across America gathering here in Washington, D.C. to continue to put pressure on Congress. This is also maybe now into a couple of weeks into the new school year, Jennifer. We talked right after Newtown, Connecticut. How safe are America's schools?
Well,
now that Starbucks are safer.
Well, I can tell you one thing. American schools will not be safer if we start putting guns in the hands of teachers and faculty members. Teachers have a hard enough job as it is, and we feel very strongly that we need to help make our schools safe, gun-free environments. We were all shaken to the core by Newtown. That is what got Moms Demand Action started. And of course, we want to keep our kids safe from gun violence everywhere, in the home, in the community, in schools. And there are multifaceted solutions, and a lot of them don't involve putting more guns in more places where they don't belong.
Yeah, as several people pointed out, there's some real practical problems, right, with arming every teacher. I mean, where do you keep the gun? And is the gun always loaded? And is it in your desk? I mean, I know
exactly,
if it's not,
with curious children around. I mean, there have been instances where trained school resource officers have misplaced their guns or inadvertently left them in a bathroom stall, and curious kids find them. So it's a very, very toxic mix, and one that is not a solution to the kind of carnage that we saw in Newtown.
Are any of we remember the parents from Newtown very heroically came down here and walked the halls of Congress for the first vote on the assault weapons ban, where they were rejected by members of Congress. Are any of them still involved in Moms Demand Action?
They are involved overall in the gun violence prevention movement, and their strength is astonishing. And the way I think about Moms Demand Action is we need to step up and use our energy. They have lost so much, and they've devoted so much time, energy to protecting my children. They are spending their time protecting my children, and the very bare minimum I can do is step up and try and help protect other American children.
Let's say hello to Betty. Betty is calling from out in Albuquerque, New Mexico, listening on KABQ. Hi, Betty. Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Yeah, what's your question?
Actually, I have a comment. I want to really commend Jennifer and her lovely, articulate lady and a beautiful representative for her coalition of moms that have made such an impact. Right on. Keep up the beautiful work. Bring these corporations to their knees and let them know who's boss. And I just want to end by saying, pardon the pun, but you've given me renewed faith that the American public is starting to really wake up and smell the coffee.
All right, Betty.
I like that.
There it is. You got a fan out there in Albuquerque, New Mexico. But yeah, I hope people are starting. I hope members of. I think the American public long ago smelled the coffee, right?
Well,
I think the problem
that's
is
key.
the people right down the street from us in this big building with a white dome on top of it haven't smelled the coffee.
But they will when people like Betty, and thank you, Betty. I appreciate your comments. I would encourage you to go to momsdemandaction.org and join your local chapter. When we have critical mass of voices, they can no longer ignore us. It's not going to be easy. The NRA and the gun lobby have been controlling this issue for over a generation. And it's not going to happen if we all just, throw up our hands in April and say, well, I guess the background checks didn't pass, it's done.
Mm-hmm.
It's not done. And it's not going to be done until we get real common sense reform passed.
Yeah. And unfortunately, I think there's too much of that attitude about after the Navy Yard shooting on Monday right down the street from us, right? Oh, there's nothing we can do, so let's not even try. I mean, that attitude is wrong, right? And,
absolutely.
And you guys are out there with the fight. The battle is the NRA versus Moms Demand Action. I bet on the moms, and I hope you do too. And join the moms, most importantly. It's momsdemandaction.org. Jennifer, great job. Thanks so much for coming in this morning.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm off to Starbucks.
Thanks for what you're doing.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Don't look at me. Your hair's a bit frizzy today. Aww, you should pick that up. Oh, you're such a dork, loser. Here, let me help you with that. Oops.
Every day, kids witness bullying.
Oh, look, your crush is looking at you. Poor you.
They want to help, but don't know how.
See, no one here's gonna help you, because no one
Teach your
likes
kids how to be more than a bystander. Visit stopbullying.gov.
If you drive buzzed, it could cost you around $10,000. You'll face major legal fees, major fines, and steep insurance penalties. You could lose everything. Nothing kills a buzz like getting pulled over for buzz driving, because buzz driving is drunk driving.
When some people struggle with their mortgage payments, they become frozen, petrified. Not knowing what to do, they do nothing. But the people who take action are far more likely to get the most positive outcome. Making home affordable is a free government program. Call now to talk one-on-one with a housing expert about the options that are right for you. Real help, real answers, right now.
Here at the GED Pep Talk Center, we have pep talkers standing by to get you motivated for your GED diploma. Text the name Terry to 69222 for a sympathetic pep talk.
You show people what you really are.
Or for a gentle pep talk, text the name Deborah.
You're going to make people very proud of you.
And if that's not enough, text the name Danny for an extreme pep talk.
Prove everyone wrong. Show them you're the boss.
Get your GED pep talk and find free GED classes. Text the name of the person you want a pep talk from to 69222.
Follow us on Twitter @BP Show. This is The Bill Press Show.
John Nichols is the Washington bureau chief for The Nation magazine. He'll be in studio with us in the next hour, as well as Congressman Steve Israel from New York, head of the Democratic Congressional Campaign Committee. What's going on, Peter?
Bill, quick story, because Congressman Phil Gingrey is from Georgia, and he's got in a little bit of hot water yesterday. He sort of put his foot in his mouth because he was talking about all the members of Congress who leave Congress and go on to get cush lobbying gigs that pay millions of dollars, essentially. And so he was caught saying, not on mic, but he was caught talking about some of these young politicians that are in Congress now, and in a couple of years they can leave and they can go make $500,000 a year. His quote was, but in a few years they just go over to K Street and make $500,000 a year. Meanwhile, I'm stuck here making $172,000.
Poor baby. Oh,
cry me a river.
Yeah, right. Yeah, we're paying these slugs $175,000, right?
Poor guy.
For doing nothing, by the way, working 2 days a week, doing nothing during those 2 days, and now they want to shut down the government? First thing we ought to do is take their salary away. Shut them down.
This is The Bill Press Show.
You wouldn't let money just blow out of your house. So when your AC or heater is on, make sure the doors, windows, and fireplace flue are shut tight. If you're headed out, turn down the AC or lower the heat by 10 degrees. And always keep your water heater set at 120. A little bit of common sense goes a long way. Get more great tips at energysaver.gov.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. You know, but it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, you know, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello? That's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
Hey, good morning. Happy Thursday. It is Thursday, September 19. Welcome to the Bill Press Show this Thursday morning. Good to have you with us as we take a look at what's happening around the country, around the globe, and right here in our nation's capital, where you'll find us in our studio on Capitol Hill. We'll tell you what's going on. You tell us what you think about it all. You can give us a call at 866-55-PRESS, of course. Join us on Twitter and send us your comments on Twitter at BP Show and on Facebook. Facebook.com/Bill Press Show. We want to hear from you. We want to get you involved in the conversation. As announced yesterday, President Obama will attend a memorial service this Sunday for the victims of the massacre at Navy Yard last Monday morning. The president once again called on to be mourner-in-chief after a mass shooting in this country. Meanwhile, Washington is getting ready for another royal battle over the budget and a possible government shutdown. Republicans said yesterday they plan to drop the nuclear bomb, even though the Wall Street Journal has said it's a bad idea, even though the Business Roundtable, even though Senate Republicans, even though John Boehner himself has said it is a bad idea to shut down the government. It could wreck this economy. The most extreme members of the House Republican caucus say they don't care. They want to shut down government unless we completely get rid of Obamacare. And yesterday, John Boehner waved the white flag, caved in to the extremist Tea Party members of his caucus, and scheduled a vote to defund Obamacare for this Friday, making him the worst speaker, the least effective speaker in the history of the House of Representatives. And that is saying something. All that and more coming up on the Bill Press Show.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Don't look at me. Your hair's a bit frizzy today. Aww. You should pick that Shut up. Oh, you're such a dork, loser. Here, let me help you with that. Oops.
Every day, kids witness bullying.
Oh, look. Your crush is looking at you. Poor you.
They want to help, but don't know how.
See, no one here's gonna help you, because no one
Teach your
likes
kids how to be more than a bystander. Visit stopbullying.gov.
If you drive buzzed, it could cost you around $10,000. You'll face major legal fees, major fines, and steep insurance penalties. You could lose everything. Nothing kills a buzz like getting pulled over for buzz driving, because buzz driving is drunk driving.
When some people struggle with their mortgage payments, they become frozen, petrified. Not knowing what to do, they do nothing. But the people who take action are far more likely to get the most positive outcome. Making home affordable is a free government program. Call now to talk one-on-one with a housing expert about the options that are right for you. Real help, real answers, right now.
Here at the GED Pep Talk Center, we have pep talkers standing by to get you motivated for your GED diploma. Text the name Terry to 69222 for a sympathetic pep talk.
You show people what you really are.
Or for a gentle pep talk, text the name Deborah.
You know you're going to make people very proud of you.
And if that's not enough, text the name Danny for an extreme pep talk.
Prove everyone wrong. Show them you're the boss.
Get your GED pep talk and find free GED classes. Text the name of the person you want a pep talk from to 69222.
Did you see the world differently? Did you celebrate the victory?
So today, I state clearly and with conviction America's commitment to seek the peace and security of a world without nuclear weapons.
Did you stand up against our greatest threat? Change the world.
Broadcasting around the nation, on your radio, on your TV, and online. This is the Bill Press Show.
Well, at least a little bit of good news on the economy. The Dow and S&P yesterday, another record high. And we'll see if some of that trickles down. Doesn't seem to be doing so. Hey, good morning, everybody. What do you say? Thursday, September 19. Let's roll along here with the Bill Press Show. Good to have you with us today. And don't forget, we are your morning radio show on your local progressive talk radio station, including out on 92.1 The Mic in Madison, Wisconsin, where our guest this hour hails from. John Nichols, there you go. John, great to see you.
It is great to see you, as
everything good
know.
in Madison?
No, not really. I mean, everything is wonderful on the human scale. The neighborhood I live in, people I know.
It's a great town. I love going out to
It's a
Madison.
wonderful town. They want you to come out. They love you.
Good.
But I will tell you that our governor, Scott Walker, is about to roll out his new book, Unintimidated.
No.
And I'm going to, Bill, I know you don't know much about this stuff, but if you knew anything about politics, you would know that the cover photo sure looks like a presidential campaign photo.
I was just going to say, come on, you know this guy's running for president, right?
It's almost beyond comprehension.
Yeah.
And the title is something, I'll mischaracterize the subtitle. The main title is Unintimidated. The subtitle is something like How I Fixed Wisconsin and What We Can Do for America.
Oh, God, spare us. Oh, look, man, here we go.
That's actually a threat.
So, and in addition to, of course, and coming to you on your local progressive talk radio station, we are there on Free Speech TV. Very proud of that and very happy to be there. You can join us on Free Speech TV at the Dish Network or Direct to TV if you've got your satellite dish. And if you want to take a look online, don't forget, go to youtube.com/TawkrTV and follow our web stream. Of course, Tawker is spelled T-A-W, the way everybody spells Tawker, T-A-W-K-R.
That's right.
TV. On this Thursday morning, team is here too with John Nichols, Peter Ogburn, and Dan Henning. Hello, guys.
Hey.
Good morning. Cruz, she is standing by to take your phone calls. There you are. And Cyprian Boulding gets a big wave as well. He's our videographer, keeping us looking good on Free Speech and on Talker TV. Last night, John, I don't really know, but this, I don't know how they got this deal. You know, Jesse Jackson Jr., whom I think was railroaded at any rate, but he was found guilty. He was sentenced to prison, but then they kind of gave him 6 months to go around, visit your family, say hello to friends, say goodbye, and auction off some of the things
stuff.
from
Farewell
his
collection.
stuff.
Yeah.
Right.
Look,
which Jay Leno talked about last night.
And memorabilia once owned by former Congressman Jesse Jackson Jr. is being auctioned off by U.S. Marshals after his guilty plea. Remember he had that corruption case? He was found guilty. One of the items they're auctioning off is a fur cape. That's when they have fur cape. Kind of an odd way for a congressman to dress, right? A fur cape. I mean, politicians aren't pimps. They're whores. That's totally different. They're not the pimp.
It is kind of funny. He had this guitar signed by Michael Jackson. I mean, all this stuff that he collected.
You know, I knew, I have known Congressman Jackson for a long time. And the interesting thing is that I know him. It's interesting. People don't always put this in the mix. He was a young man born into the thick of the civil rights struggle. In many ways, had no traditional childhood. He was out there with his dad running for president.
Yeah.
And I honestly think he had a serious challenge in his life, a mental health challenge. And you saw things play out. You bought things, you did stuff.
I know.
I don't make apologies for him, but what I do say about Congressman Jackson is that we should never forget that when he came into Congress more than a decade ago, he came in and challenged all sides. He was he was the sort of congressman you wanted there.
Oh yeah, no,
he's really bold.
He was one of my heroes. I mean, I just thought at the time he was one of the rising stars of the Democratic Party. You know, young, attractive, articulate,
and he spoke about change. He spoke about he did. He in many ways embodied that
sad
king.
To see that whole thing fall apart.
We embodied this king concept of picking up the economics, not just civil rights, but economic rights. And so I see it as a tragic story. And I also believe in this is a redemptive country, that you might yet, someday we might see him again.
And I admired the way that he handled his sentencing and everything, and he said, look, I did wrong, and I take my punishment. So there it is. We, with John Nichols, we'll be talking about all the, not all, but as many as we can squeeze in here, the first half-hour issues of the day. We'll be joined at the half by Congressman Steve Israel, who is not only doing a great job for the people of Long Island, but for all of us as head of the Democratic Congressional Campaign Committee. But first...
This is the Full Court Press.
Other headlines making news on this Thursday. Move over, Charlie Rose. Syrian President Bashar al-Assad has sat down for another TV interview with Dennis Kucinich. The former Ohio congressman, now a contributor to Fox News, was in Syria yesterday with reporter Greg Palkot to sit down with a Syrian dictator.
Yeah, why not?
Why not? Yeah.
I mean,
as good an interview as you get.
A new career for Dennis. Yeah.
He's all the time around here now because his wife now works in the building. And so I see him coming in.
Does she work in this building?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
She does.
Yeah.
But the interesting thing is, there's a long tradition. British politicians often go, like Tony Benn, the former British parliamentarian. Yeah. He went and interviewed Saddam Hussein. So this is not an unheard of thing. And frankly, Dennis is probably as good a person as any.
I think it's kind of cool.
No, I love it. Bring Dennis in, get Dennis in, and
he'd
tell us
come
about this. He's been here before.
Yeah.
Right. One lottery ticket matched off.
And I actually think that's sort of a stroke of Fox genius.
Mm-hmm.
Send him over.
Right.
One lottery ticket matched all 6 numbers in last night's $400 million Powerball jackpot drawing. The ticket with the winning numbers was purchased in Lexington, South Carolina. We don't know if it's one person or a group of people, but the winning numbers are 7, 10, 22, 32, 35. The Powerball is 19.
Any luck there, brother?
Yeah.
That'd be great. If your
It's
chair was
already
empty.
ripped up into
I just wanted to show you.
pieces.
These are my lottery tickets, all right?
Already ripped up.
No, it'd be great if your chair was empty when they came back.
Yeah, right.
They went,
Well, that's what I said
Bill won the
yesterday.
lottery.
I'll know when he's won the lottery because he just won't show up.
No, they come back from a
They know this.
You guys not there.
I'm not one of these people who win the lottery and then continue to work.
Forget it.
And nobody does. It's just a matter of when you figure that out.
Exactly.
Day 2 or 3.
And a U.S. Court of Appeals has ruled that liking something on Facebook is protected by free speech under the Constitution. The case of 6 Hampton, Virginia Sheriff's Department employees was handed down yesterday when they expressed support for their boss's opponent in a 2009 election by liking that sheriff's candidate's Facebook page.
That is absolutely protected.
They lost their jobs. CNN reports the judge says liking something on Facebook is the internet equivalent of displaying a political sign in one's front yard.
No, that makes sense. Absolutely.
Yeah. Oh, my God. Yeah, but was that a smart thing to do?
No. Look, you shouldn't do it.
But that's the oldest story in the book, though, is the deputy who runs against the sheriff. It's every county in America that happens in.
Yeah. Right. So John, you are out there. We've talked to you before about your great new book, Dollarocracy. And you and your co-author, Robert Waterman McChesney, are right now doing your book tour, right? Yeah. All about money in politics. Is it getting any better? It's just getting worse, isn't it?
No, it's getting much better. But
really?
We don't have a media in this country that covers politics, except for you. And so as a result, people aren't aware.
How's it getting better?
16 states have officially asked the Congress of the United States to do a constitutional amendment to overturn Citizens United. 500 communities have now officially petitioned Congress to act on this. Now, I say that's getting better because we have a grassroots rebellion in this country. And what we talk about in the book is this moment where the media stands down on, doesn't cover politics well or thoroughly. The ads are pouring in, and we're getting our information as spin, as propaganda, not as useful information. And we go out and say that to people. Mm-hmm. Everybody gets it. And again, what I'm telling you is they're out there trying to fix this thing. Grassroots people getting up in the morning trying to fix it. Part of our job as folks who try to move this ball along, cover this country in a good way, is to remember to talk about them. Don't leave them out there in the wilderness. Yeah. Let's bring their message to Washington.
And that's what you're doing.
We're trying.
Yeah, indeed. It's and you come to Washington at a time when, get this, all right? Mm-hmm. So the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, the Wall Street Journal, the Business Roundtable, people that normally speak to Republicans and the Republicans listen to, say it would be really bad idea to shut down the government. John Boehner himself says it would be really a bad idea to shut down the government. Yesterday, John Boehner scheduled a vote for this Friday to shut down the government unless they can entirely defund Obamacare.
You're right, and in fact, the Boehner quote from March, which you paraphrase very well, but let's go the full quote. It is, who would risk the full faith and credit of the federal government of the United States of America on a fight over Obamacare? And he was right. He recognized that's not how you do this.
So what happened yesterday?
Well, what happened is that Tom Graves and some other members of the House, who really are the rising powers in the House, they tend to be Southerners. Not from Ohio. They tend to be from, like 90% Republican districts or 80%. They're very solid. They can pretty much do what they want and not risk re-election. They organized to make this fight. They are backed up. You talk about some of the elite power in the Republican Party. These guys are also backed up by other sectors within the party who want to have this fight, some of them with a lot of money. So it's a divide within the power. And they basically came to Boehner, They said, we've got 80, 90 or more members who are signed on for this right now. And if you don't give us this, you are risking your speakership. You're risking a lot. And he bent to it. There's no question. You could see.
So he would Boehner would rather risk the full faith and credit of the United States than his job.
There's simply no question. Come on, let's not be, because he could have done, there's an easy way to do this. You say, I personally oppose this even, but I'm going to let a vote go forward. Because the vote going forward would get most Democrats overwhelmingly, as well as we imagine 60, 70 Republicans, a decent number of old school responsible Republicans. Boehner has circumvented that, made this an internal caucus thing. Where this becomes a very, very big deal, too, is you got to read what he's proposed. He has not just proposed, we're going to go forward with things normally, except for Obamacare, which is what it'll be publicized as. This has got the build out of the Keystone Pipeline in it. This has got you read what they propose. It's a laundry list of extreme demands that take the hard issues that Congress should be debating about, lobs them into this, what should be a perfunctory resolution, makes it impossible for a ton of people to vote for, creates a crisis. And the fact is, it's not going to be Friday. We're going to be talking about this for weeks.
Here we go again, right?
Yeah.
Is there any way that Senate Republicans, with the sole exception of Ted Cruz, go along with this?
Oh, go along with it? No. I mean, the fact of the matter is that the kind of people who are Senate Republicans are already opposed to this in the House. You understand?
Got it. Yeah.
There's this chunk of the Republican Party that you and I would have a day-long debate with on almost every fundamental issue. But at the end of the day, they default toward playing tennis with a net, right? That they say, okay, there are rules, there's structures, we'll go along with that. Yeah. They are now a minority in the House. They're not the Senate Republicans. They may or may, certainly there are outliers, but in the House, the Main Street Republicans, the responsible Republicans, are a minority, and they have lost control of their chamber.
So Jay Carney used this phrase yesterday, which caught my attention, that in effect we're watching a civil war in the Republican Party. Do you think that's accurate today?
I think that's exactly accurate, and I think there's something else going on which is perhaps more terrifying. And I say it is terrifying because I like politics, and I like real politics where you have competition. I would suggest to you that there's a portion of the Republican Party that has decided they can never win the presidency again. They believe that. But they do believe they can win the off-year elections. And so the calculus is that they will continue to control through these off-year, off-cycle elections, keep Congress, keep the House, maybe even get the Senate.
Certainly the House.
These ideas could never play in a presidential race. Never would.
The House more so because of the district by district by district as opposed to statewide.
Well, you say district by district by district, brother. We're talking about gerrymandering. And the fact of the matter is the 2010 election continues to be the most significant election in modern history in many ways because it allowed for a skewing of the political process in a way that Democrats win the most votes for Congress, but they don't get a majority. Mm-hmm. And so we have Republicans in super safe districts, and they have no sense of...
And that minority are running the show today. It is a tail wagging the dog. John Nichols is here. He is the Washington correspondent for The Nation magazine, author of Dollarocracy. Your questions, your comments. Can we really overturn Citizens United? 866-55-PRESS.
This is the Bill Press Show.
This is my computer.
This is your computer. Let's go on the internet.
Let's go. Click it.
Yes.
Okay.
I cursor in between the R and the E. Pressing dot, I want you to just push the period.
She's gonna love me all over again.
That's it. Jamaica, here you go.
Here we go.
Good job.
Thank you. Thank you. And I did it by myself. Feel smarter.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello? That's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
same time next week?
Well, of course. Put away a few bucks, feel like $1 million. For free tips to help you save, go to Feed the Pig.
All right. I know this isn't any fun to talk about, but we should. Okay. So who's going to do what?
I'll pack the dead batteries.
Great.
I'll only put what I don't need into a duffel bag.
Perfect. That's totally unhelpful.
No problem.
Meanwhile, I will try to comfort everyone by speaking in a calm voice.
And I'll try to get the generator going without any gas.
Oh, let's not forget the cell phones, which probably won't work.
Right.
And who is going to handle supplies?
I can forget to do a list for us.
Thanks, pal.
Well, I think we couldn't be any less prepared. I'm proud of you guys.
Talk to your kids about who to call, where to meet, what to pack. Visit ready.gov/kids for tips and information.
Hey, thanks for stopping by. You know, I followed your character since the first episode. I'm a big fan. Big fan.
Thank you.
And listen, your storyline, it makes for incredible TV drama. Thing is, your drug use is very adult content. Too adult for the kids. So I'm gonna have to block you.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Well, have a good one.
You're a nice lady.
Like politics? Then like The Bill Press Show on Facebook. This is The Bill Press Show.
25 minutes after the hour, John Nichols in studio with us as a friend of Bill from The Nation magazine, thenation.com, and his new book, Dollarocracy, which I'm sure, I know we have still a link up on our website to Dollarocracy, and you can also get it, of course, through Amazon. And we'll be joined by Congressman Steve Israel at the half here. Peter, quick comment?
We're on Twitter at BP Show, at BP Show, where Dale Plemons weighs in, says the Tea Party went to D.C. to dismantle the federal government. Obamacare is just another excuse for them to serve the nuts that elected them. And I like this comment. Rodeo Gal says, why doesn't the word junior in front of Ted Cruz's senator title account for anything? He shouldn't hold this much power over the Senate. If you want to join in the conversation, you can join in at BP Show on Twitter.
It is amazing that Senator Ted Cruz is being taken so seriously.
I just have such a hard time saying Senator Ted Cruz, so junior senator.
But if things don't go off for him, as we can now say, he could be Member of Parliament Ted Cruz in Canada yet.
That's true.
Right. John, I've got to ask you something that didn't get as much attention as I think it should. The Census Bureau yesterday came out with its annual report on income, wealth in this country today, reporting that we are still here, 2013, 16% of Americans, 46.5 million Americans living in poverty in this country.
A huge portion of them full-time workers.
In terms of middle class, average American family today making less today than it made in 1989.
After Reagan, who look, these figures ought to be the absolute wake-up call in American politics, and they ought to be shaking everybody. And it's an interesting thing. Up in New York, Bill de Blasio ran on these things and found that the middle class supported him because the middle class is starting to recognize that when they look up or down, they're an awful lot closer to down. They're an awful lot closer to falling into those hard economic times. We tell ourselves that there's a portion of people that are middle class, that are relatively comfortable. We think everything's fine for them. The fact is, many of them are underwater on their mortgages. Many of them are really worried about losing a job. And the powerful thing to me in those economic figures is this question of why isn't it a wake-up call? But one of the answers is found in another publication, or a publication here in Washington, Roll Call. They just did their annual study of the wealth of members of Congress. And what we're finding is the Congress is a 1% institution, not a 99% institution. And I don't think it responds to poverty as well as it should.
Because those members are, so many of them are so wealthy and doing so well.
And I think that it doesn't mean they're bad people. It's that they literally, it's not how they're thinking. Their America's going very, very well economically. And they're not, I don't think, there are many of them that I don't think feel the reality of what's going on with the other portion of this country.
So the rich get richer and the poor get poorer and poorer and poorer. Congressman Steve Israel
is
joins
the Bill
us next.
Press Show.
Don't look at me. Your hair's a bit frizzy today. Oh, you should pick that up. Oh, you're such a dork, loser. Here, let me help you with that. Oops.
Every day, kids witness bullying.
Oh, look. Your crush is looking at you. Poor you.
They want to help, but don't know how.
See, no one here's gonna help you, because no one
Teach your
likes
kids how to be more than a bystander. Visit stopbullying.gov.
If you drive buzzed, it could cost you around $10,000. You'll face major legal fees, major fines, and steep insurance penalties. You could lose everything. Nothing kills a buzz like getting pulled over for buzz driving, because buzz driving is drunk driving.
When some people struggle with their mortgage payments, they become frozen, petrified. Not knowing what to do, they do nothing. But the people who take action are far more likely to get the most positive outcome. Making home affordable is a free government program. Call now to talk one-on-one with a housing expert about the options that are right for you. Real help, real answers, right now.
Here at the GED Pep Talk Center, we have pep talkers standing by to get you motivated for your GED diploma. Text the name Terry to 69222 for a sympathetic pep talk.
You show people what you really are.
Or for a gentle pep talk, text the name Deborah.
You know you're going to make people very proud of you.
And if that's not enough, text the name Danny for an extreme pep talk.
Prove everyone wrong. Show them you're the boss.
Get your GED pep talk and find free GED classes. Text the name of the person you want a pep talk from to 69222.
Did you see the world differently? Did you celebrate the victory?
So today, I state clearly and with conviction America's commitment to seek the peace and security of a world without nuclear weapons.
Did you stand up against our greatest threat? Change the world.
is the Bill Press Show.
Here we go at 33 minutes after the hour. It is the Bill Press Show. We're coming to you live from our nation's capital on our studio on Capitol Hill. Brought to you today by AFSCME. You know, the good men and women of AFSCME under President Lee Saunders, the largest public employee and healthcare workers union in the entire country. Making America happen. You can find out more about their good work at AFSCME.org. That's AFSCME.org. We are heading to a real showdown, it looks like, again, here in our nation's capital, over the budget and the debt ceiling. Joining us in studio, a man right in the middle of it, Congressman Steve Israel, representing parts of Long Island here, at any rate. I'm not sure exactly. What's your district number, Congressman?
3. From the Whitestone Bridge in Queens to the Nissaquag River in Smithtown.
He's got it down. That's his district. He's also chairman of the Democratic Congressional Campaign Committee, working for all of us around the country. And John Nichols, Washington bureau chief, correspondent, whatever.
I write about politics.
The Nation magazine here in studio as a friend of Bill this hour. So, Congressman, show of leadership yesterday on the part of Speaker John Boehner, right? Saying it's a bad idea to even think about shutting the government down because of Obamacare, but we're going to do it anyway.
Right. Yeah. Every time that Speaker Boehner has had a choice between moving the country forward and working with Democrats or caving into his right-wing lunatic fringe, he's selected option B, cave into the right-wing lunatic fringe. That's not leadership. He's more concerned with keeping the gavel than he is keeping the economy running.
That's exactly it. Right?
Mm-hmm.
It's his job that's more important, or than keeping the country going.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly. He is a captive of the Tea Party, and that is why, another day, another showdown, another day, another crisis. These people are just incapable of getting consensus and moving the country forward.
Yesterday, President Obama went before the Business Roundtable. A couple of hours before he got there, the Business Roundtable, leaders of the major corporations in this country passed a resolution saying, bad idea. To shut down the government. Bad idea not to raise the debt ceiling. Just do it, right? Telling Republicans to do that. The U.S. Chamber of Commerce has told Republicans, raise the debt ceiling. Stop playing games. The Wall Street Journal has said, this is wrong. These are voices that Republicans usually listen to.
Yeah.
No more?
No, they are in a right-wing fantasy land. They just don't listen. They only listen to themselves in this bubble. They listen to themselves at the Tea Party caucus. They listen to themselves rant and rave, in their individual meetings. But they're not listening to the American people. They're not even listening to their constituents.
I wanted to offer this notion, though. I think for years we've been saying it's time that we have some people in Congress who stand up to corporations and say no. Who thought it was going to be the right wing of the Republican Party?
I know.
No, but it is.
But here's the deal, though, and because John has written this book of Dollarocracy about money and politics.
Fine holiday gift.
I'm going to read it.
Do you think, and this really gets to your other hat, right? I mean, so do you think if the Tea Party, and they're going through with this strategy, and Boehner's going along with them, but the corporations are still going to give their money to these Republicans, aren't they? Isn't that the problem?
Well, I hope that they have a change of heart and a change of mind, because if you take a look at what these Republicans are doing to the economy, if you take a look at what they're willing to do to businesses, to corporations, to middle-class families, to working families, all in the interest of pursuing their relentless ideology, they are a bad deal for America. They're a bad deal for the business community. And so I hope that the business community will use this as a reason to reassess their own relentless support of an agenda that works against the interests of our economy.
I mean, every one of these corporations, John, would be damaged, right?
Well, I think that we have to understand, and the congressman knows this because he's one of the savvier people up there. When we talk about the corporate community, we talk about the business community, frankly, when we talk about wealthy donors, there are sectors within. Not everybody's on the same page. Many visionary people who are very, very wealthy donate to the Democratic Party, right? So it's not if one side or the other, either or. But what has happened, and what I do think is a real challenge here, is that I think you have a portion of the Republican Party, perhaps a majority of the House caucus, which has decided that they can do this in an off-year election. They can bring the government to a standstill. I don't think this would be happening if next year was a presidential year. I think that then the power within the party would be bringing down a bigger hammer. But my bet is that what they're betting is they can create crisis and hoping a low turnout 2014, they'll slide through.
You know, I wish I could agree with your analysis.
Well, it's okay
I would have
if you
hope.
don't.
I would have more hope. But
Yeah.
you know, these people are just relentless, and many of them go back to districts that have been redistricted to the right. Not enough for them to maintain the majority necessarily, but many of them go back to their districts and they go back to their own Tea Party followers, and they believe what they hear. They're in an echo chamber. They come back and they really believe that the United States of America, most Americans and most businesses would be willing to shut down the economy in order to defund Obamacare. They are true believers. God bless them. Many of these people are true believers.
And what you're saying is that this is actually that our hope would be cynicism.
Meaning,
so that if they were just cynics doing this, you could maybe get it through.
If my
they
hope
really
would be,
believe it,
that's right. That's right. I would have some hope if this was a political strategy. It is not. It is an ideology, which means our only hope is to replace them. Is to elect 17 more Democrats in the House of Representatives to take this majority back and put this country back on a course of common sense.
Tell us how long have you been in Congress?
Since 2000. 2001.
Okay,
I was
so
elected
you were
in
not
2000.
there in 1994.
No,
right?
but I watched it on TV.
Right. I wonder whether some of these Republicans recognize the danger to the country, to the economy, to their party, if they shut down the government, as happened in 1994.
Can I tell you a story about that?
Please.
Bill, there are some places on Capitol Hill where you can run into a Tea Party Republican and try and have an honest conversation. Not many places, but some places. And so I was talking to a former congressman, a Tea Party congressman from Illinois that was defeated. And I said to him, you know what, do you remember the lessons of 1994? Your constituents want you to compromise. They want you to meet us halfway. If you don't do that, we will beat you. And this is what he said. I know you may beat me, but I will bring this government down with me. Now, how do you negotiate with somebody like that? So they don't care about the lessons of 1994. They care about their relentless ideology. You know why they want a government shutdown? Because they don't believe in government. That's what this is about. And so there is no hope when you're dealing with people like that.
You wonder why they ran for Congress if they don't believe in government.
Well, they like all the benefits of government. They like being on the federal employee health benefits plan. They like all that stuff. They like the swag. They just don't believe that the government should be helping middle-class families. By the way, they love a government that will fund $40 billion in subsidies to the richest oil companies on earth. They love a government that actually gives them subsidies for the farms.
Districts.
No, I'm talking about personal subsidies because many of them own farms. That government is fine. But a government that wants to help families with supplemental nutrition assistance, no good. A government that wants Americans to decide on their health care rather than big insurance companies, put it out of business.
Congresswoman Rosa DeLauro was
She's
right
great.
there in that seat yesterday. She told us about, if I can only remember his name, a congressman from Tennessee, Kinsley or something.
I'm not sure,
Okay.
Yeah.
Who wants to eliminate the food stamp program because there are too many cheats on welfare. Fincher.
Yes.
Wants to eliminate food stamps, right? He gets $3.5 million in crop subsidies every year for his ranch.
Yeah, government's great then, isn't it? By the way, there are over 10 of them. 10 of them voted to take supplemental nutrition assistance out of the Farm Bill because they don't believe that the Farm Bill should be funding poor people, but they receive a check from the federal government in subsidies for significant amounts of money for their own farms. How is that defensible?
And you ask about the 94 class too.
Yeah.
I covered that class and I covered those people. And you can say this about Newt Gingrich. He was interested in government. Mm-hmm. He was ultimately, he may want to change it fundamentally. And those people who came in were his acolytes. They were people he had trained up. Mm-hmm. It's a very different world now. I do think that the congressman is right on this, that you could go to these people and say, well, remember what happened in 94 and stuff like that. They actually, you talk to them, and I've talked to the chief, they will say those are sellouts. Those weren't real believers.
Mm-hmm. Congressman, what do the American people understand, and how would you have them understand what would happen if, in fact, we do not lift the debt ceiling and let the government default?
Well, actually, the American people do. There was just a poll over the past 24 hours, a national poll. A majority of the American people understand that not lifting the debt ceiling would seriously harm the economy. They also understand that when we're talking about the debt ceiling, we're not talking about new spending. We're talking about spending that members of Congress have racked up, including farm subsidies for themselves, that they now don't want to pay the bill for. I have to pay my credit cards. Your listeners have to pay their credit cards. Why should the United States government not have to pay the bills that the United States Congress racked up? That's what this is about.
That's really what it's all about, right?
Absolutely.
At the end of the month, you get that thing. Here's all the stuff that you spent. Now you got to pay for it.
Right.
Well, Congress says, "Oh no, we spent it all, but we ain't going to pay for it."
Mm-hmm.
We should pull in. We should throw into the mix here that you've read the bill. This is not just about debt ceiling and Obama. This has got Keystone Pipeline
stuff. They put Keystone in there. They put all this other stuff, that all these little ideological trinkets they pin to this bill. Yeah. So this is a game.
Here we go. Armageddon. Starting to sound like it, isn't it? Congressman Steve Israel in studio with us. Your questions, your comments, welcome if you figure out a way out of this mess. And Congressman... Whoa,
good deal.
I'm not really making the run.
I just elevated you. It starts right here.
I like that.
John Nichols from The Nation in studio with us as well. We'll be right back.
Follow us on Twitter @BP Show. This is The Bill Press Show.
This is my computer.
This is your computer. Let's go on the internet.
Let's go. Click it.
Yes.
Okay.
I cursor in between the R and the E. Racing dot. I want you to just push the period.
She's gonna love me all over again.
That's it. Jamaica, here you go.
Here we go.
Good job.
Thank you. Thank you. And I did it by myself. Feel smarter.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello? That's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
All right. I know this isn't any fun to talk about, but we should. Okay. So who's going to do what?
I'll pack the dead batteries.
Great.
I'll only put what I don't need into a duffel bag.
Perfect. That's totally unhelpful.
No problem.
Meanwhile, I will try to comfort everyone by speaking in a calm voice.
And I'll try to get the generator going without any gas.
Oh, let's not forget the cell phones, which probably won't work.
Right.
And who is going to handle supplies?
I can forget to do a list for us.
Thanks, pal.
Well, I think we couldn't be any less prepared. I'm proud of you guys.
Talk to your kids about who to call, where to meet, what to pack. Visit ready.gov/kids for tips and information.
Hey, an exciting third hour coming up, jam-packed with a couple of very, very important guests. Won't be able to watch on Free Speech TV, but you can continue to watch on TawkrTV. Go to youtube.com/Tawker, TAWKR-TV, and join the Reverend Jim Wallis, head of Sojourners, and Congresswoman Barbara Lee as we talk about food stamps. We'll talk about poverty. We'll talk about Syria. Exciting third hour. Stay with us.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Here we go, 13 minutes before the top of the hour. We're blessed to have in studio with us at this time Congressman Steve Israel from the state of New York and head of the Democratic Congressional Campaign Committee. And with us from The Nation magazine as a friend of Bill, John Nichols. Congressman, I want to ask you, some of us were a little shocked, if not annoyed, when Vladimir Putin, the president of Israel, put an op-ed in the New York Times. President of Russia, what am I saying? Op-ed in the New York Times, kind of teaching us how to run our country and telling us everything that we were doing wrong and everything President Obama was doing wrong. You responded to him in a Russian magazine.
I did.
What kind of response? What did you say and what kind of response did you get?
Well, I wanted to test the proposition that the right of free expression is a two-way street. And look, I understand people were annoyed with Putin's piece. I took it as an opportunity. If he could talk to the American people, why can't American government officials talk to the people of Russia? I never thought I would actually pen an op-ed that said, "People of Russia, may I address you?" And to my surprise, although I was later somewhat disappointed, the newspaper Correspondent accepted my op-ed, where I talked about my own feelings on Syria and the exceptional thing that our two countries can do. The translation, however, left a little to be desired.
No kidding.
So, for example, I read. I wrote. I was fascinated by Mr. Putin's article in the New York Times, and it was written in Correspondent as I was delighted by President Putin's piece in the New York Times. Fascinated, delighted. I guess it's up to interpretation. But the fact is that they did run the piece, and I'm thankful that they did.
And tell us some of the things you said, except for folks. Just give us a sense of some of the things you wanted to communicate to the Russian people.
Well, the most important thing that I wanted to communicate is Mr. Putin's criticism of the president for talking about American exceptionalism.
Yes.
I talked about the fact that as an American, I do believe my country is exceptional and has done exceptional things. I also know that Russia and the United States together have accomplished many exceptional things. We explored space together. We defeated the Nazis together. And if we could work together to rid the world of chemical weapons.
A lot of nuclear weapons together.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And if we can create that partnership and eliminate the threat of chemical weapons being used against children in Syria or elsewhere in the world, we could add that to the list of exceptional things. And I asked that Mr. Putin put turn his words into deed.
Now, how's this for a segue? The world would be a better place if Russia and the United States could work together on Syria, getting rid of the nuclear weapons. The world would be a better place if Democrats can take back control of the House.
Oh, I love that.
In 2014.
Yeah.
Okay, tell us how you're going to do it.
We have a path. We need 17 seats to take the majority and change the direction of the Congress.
Which sounds like a lot, but it's not.
It's not really. 435 seats in Congress. We need 17 to paraphrase Winston Churchill, never in the history of humankind has so little meant so much. 17 seats, gets us out of this gridlock and obstructionism. We have 52 districts in play. We need 17. 52 Republican districts in play. We will defend about 25, 26 Democratic incumbents in fairly challenging districts. Our recruiting has gone exceptionally well. We continue to beat the Republicans in fundraising, and our message is working very well. Our message is working not because we're that good necessarily, but because the Republicans are that bad. 67% of voters in swing districts have a negative view of their Republican member of Congress. That is very significant. 40% of Republicans in those districts do not believe that House Republicans are doing enough to cooperate. And so that's the environment in which we find ourselves.
Can I ask you one question? And you'll know this. The 52 districts that you're talking about, how many of them voted for President Obama?
There are about, it overlaps, but there are about 17 districts that voted for the president. There are about close to 20 districts where 48% of those districts voted for the president.
It's an ironic number, isn't it?
Yeah, it sure is.
There.
Yeah.
It's 17 districts that voted for President Obama, and they need 17 seats.
Yeah, there you go. So there's a path, Jonathan. There's a path.
So it's 52 Republican districts, and then you're defending.
And we're defending. Well, there's 52. We're in offense in 52 Republican districts, and then we'll be in defense in about 25, 26 Democratic districts. But I'll tell you, our Democratic incumbents, they have all the tools. They're doing the right thing. They're working in their districts, and they are they're leaders who have reasonable, common sense solutions to the nation's problems, and that's what their constituents want.
But if you look, that we really were moving forward. Anything that this president has accomplished, he accomplished in the first 2 years when Democrats had control of the House and Senate, right?
Well, think about it, yeah.
Yeah, and since 2010, it's just been gridlock or downhill.
This is the least productive Congress in the history of the Congress. Think about the first day that the Democrats had the majority. We passed the Lilly Ledbetter Act that said that a woman shouldn't be paid less than for the same work as a man. Last day we passed the repeal of Don't Ask, Don't Tell. In between, we did so much. We passed the Affordable Care Act. We bolstered consumer protections. We lowered the rate on student loans. It was a robust several years. Robust not in pursuit of ideology, which is what the Republicans are doing. Robust in pursuit of growing the middle class and working families. You compare what we did to what they're doing, there's no comparison.
It's so important to get that back. I'm going to have to ask you to hold that thought because we're just out of time.
I filibustered.
No, you didn't.
I'm sorry.
Not at all.
DCCC.org,
right?
Yes,
Is that,
DCCC.org.
You can find out more about which races, where you can help out. Congressman Steve Israel, thank you for the great job you're doing.
Bill.
Thanks for coming in this morning.
Read your book.
Thank you.
All right. John Nichols, good
Honored,
man,
my friend.
great friend. Thank you so much for coming in. Dollarocracy. Check it out. We got a link on our website, and I'll be back and tell you what the president is up to today.
Go mobile with Bill Press. Download podcasts at BillPressShow.com and listen anytime, anywhere. This is The Bill Press Show.
Don't look at me. Your hair's a bit frizzy today. Oh, you should pick that up. Oh, you're such a dork, loser. Here, let me help you with that. Oops.
Every day, kids witness bullying.
Oh, look. Your crush is looking at you. Poor you.
They want to help, but don't know how.
See, no one here's gonna help you, because no one
Teach your
likes
kids
you.
how to be more than a bystander. Visit stopbullying.gov.
If you drive buzzed, it could cost you around $10,000. You'll face major legal fees, major fines, and steep insurance penalties. You could lose everything. Nothing kills a buzz like getting pulled over for buzz driving, because buzz driving is drunk driving.
When some people struggle with their mortgage payments, they become frozen, petrified. Not knowing what to do, they do nothing. But the people who take action are far more likely to get the most positive outcome. Making home affordable is a free government program. Call now to talk one-on-one with a housing expert about the options that are right for you. Real help, real answers, right now.
Here at the GED Pep Talk Center, we have pep talkers standing by to get you motivated for your GED diploma. Text the name Terry to 69222 for a sympathetic pep talk.
You show people what you really are.
Or for a gentle pep talk, text the name Deborah.
You know you're going to make people very proud of you.
And if that's not enough, text the name Danny for an extreme pep talk.
Prove everyone wrong. Show them you're the boss.
Get your GED pep talk and find free GED classes. Text the name of the person you want a pep talk from to 69222.
Hey, an exciting third hour coming up, jam-packed with a couple of very, very important guests. Won't be able to watch on Free Speech TV, but you can continue to watch on TawkrTV. Go to youtube.com/Tawker, TAWKR-TV, and join the Reverend Jim Wallis, head of Sojourners, and Congresswoman Barbara Lee as we talk about food stamps. We'll talk about poverty. We'll talk about Syria. Exciting third hour. Stay with us.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Here we go. 3 minutes now before the top of the hour. Congresswoman Barbara Lee joins us in the next hour, as well as the head of Sojourners, the Reverend Jim Wallis, in to talk about those stunning numbers on poverty yesterday and about the Republican response, of course, which is to try to eliminate the food stamp program. President Obama, another busy day at the White House today. He and the Vice President received the daily briefing at 10 o'clock, after which he'll be going across the street to the Eisenhower Executive Office building for a meeting of his Export Council, keeping up those important measures on American trade. This afternoon, he will be meeting with his senior advisors, obviously talking a lot about the budget crisis. And then at 4:25 this afternoon, he'll be bouncing over to the Capitol Hilton at 16th and K to attend a fundraiser for the Democratic National Committee. Jay Carney has called us White House scribes together at 1 o'clock for today's press briefing. So back with Congresswoman Barbara Lee and with the Reverend Jim Wallis.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Hey, good morning. Happy Thursday. It is Thursday, September 19. Welcome to the Bill Press Show this Thursday morning. Good to have you with us as we take a look at what's happening around the country, around the globe, and right here in our nation's capital, where you'll find us in our studio on Capitol Hill. We'll tell you what's going on. You tell us what you think about it all. You can give us a call at 866-55-PRESS, of course. Join us on Twitter and send us your comments on Twitter at BP Show and on Facebook. Facebook.com/Bill Press Show. We want to hear from you. We want to get you involved in the conversation. As announced yesterday, President Obama will attend a memorial service this Sunday for the victims of the massacre at Navy Yard last Monday morning. The president once again called on to be mourner-in-chief after a mass shooting in this country. Meanwhile, Washington is getting ready for another royal battle over the budget and a possible government shutdown. Republicans said yesterday they plan to drop the nuclear bomb, even though the Wall Street Journal has said it's a bad idea, even though the Business Roundtable, even though Senate Republicans, even though John Boehner himself has said it is a bad idea to shut down the government. It could wreck this economy. The most extreme members of the House Republican caucus say they don't care. They want to shut down government unless we completely get rid of Obamacare. And yesterday, John Boehner waved the white flag, caved in to the extremist Tea Party members of his caucus, and scheduled a vote to defund Obamacare for this Friday, making him the worst speaker, the least effective speaker in the history of the House of Representatives. And that is saying something. All that and more coming up on the Bill Press Show.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Don't look at me. Your hair's a bit frizzy today. Oh, you should pick that up. Oh, you're such a dork, loser. Here, let me help you with that. Oops.
Every day, kids witness bullying.
Oh, look! Your crush is looking at you. Poor you.
They want to help, but don't know how.
See, no one here's gonna help you, because no one
Teach your
likes you.
kids how to be more than a bystander. Visit stopbullying.gov.
If you drive buzzed, it could cost you around $10,000. You'll face major legal fees, major fines, and steep insurance penalties. You could lose everything. Nothing kills a buzz like getting pulled over for buzz driving, because buzz driving is drunk driving.
When some people struggle with their mortgage payments, they become frozen, petrified. Not knowing what to do, they do nothing. But the people who take action are far more likely to get the most positive outcome. Making home affordable is a free government program. Call now to talk one-on-one with a housing expert about the options that are right for you. Real help, real answers, right now.
Here at the GED Pep Talk Center, we have pep talkers standing by to get you motivated for your GED diploma. Text the name Terry to 69222 for a sympathetic pep talk.
You show people what you really are.
Or for a gentle pep talk, text the name Deborah.
You know you're going to make people very proud of you.
And if that's not enough, text the name Danny for an extreme pep talk.
Prove everyone wrong. Show them you're the boss.
Get your GED pep talk and find free GED classes. Text the name of the person you want a pep talk from to 69222.
Did you see the world differently? Did you celebrate the victory?
So today, I state clearly and with conviction America's commitment to seek the peace and security of a world without nuclear weapons.
Did you stand up against our greatest threat? Change the world.
Broadcasting around the nation, on your radio, on your TV, and online. This is the Bill Press Show.
Here we go. The Dow and the S&P yesterday, record high numbers. At least one part of the economy seems to be doing any good, but we have learned yesterday also that not much of that wealth is trickling down. Good morning, everybody. What do you say? It is Thursday, September 19. And this is it, the Bill Press Show. We're coming to you live all the way across this great land of ours, coast to coast, in several ways. First of all, and primarily, we are your morning talk radio show on your local progressive talk radio, and good to have you with us. Thank you so much for tuning in and supporting your local progressive talk radio station and their sponsors. We're also coming to you on your video stream. If you want to check out your computer, just go to youtube.com/TawkrTV, TAWKRTV. You can watch the video stream, and of course you can join the conversation anytime by giving us a call at 866-55-PRESS or sending your comments on Twitter at BP Show and on Facebook, facebook.com/BillPressShow. Our entire team here this morning, Peter Ogburn and Dan Henning.
Hey, hey, hey.
Okay, guys.
Good morning.
With Alicia Cruz manning the phones, personing the phones, I guess we should say, and Cyprian Bolding, our videographer, keeping us looking good on that video stream. Joining us in studio, one of the leaders of the faith community, not just in our nation's capital, but around the country, a good friend of the program. It's good to have the Reverend Jim Wallis, the president of Sojourners, back in studio with us this morning. Jim, nice to see you.
Thanks, Bill.
There's a word that we don't hear much around these days called poverty. And you might not have been as stunned as I to learn yesterday that. So it was ironic. The Dow record high, the S&P record high. Obviously, some people are doing very well in this country, but the Census Bureau reports that 46.5 million Americans are still living in poverty in this country. 16.1 million kids, 3.9 million seniors. And that seems to have disappeared from the radar screen. Why?
One of the prophets said, they see and they do not see. They hear and they do not hear. We simply tolerate this. That's the problem. We tolerate this. And the big picture is, as the census numbers show, the wealthy are doing extremely well.
Right.
The 1% so far have captured 95% of the wealth since the Great Recession. So what this comes down to is those that helped to cause this are the only ones who are recovering. And the poor continue to struggle, and the middle class is even stagnating. And then the same studies show that 4 million people were kept out of poverty last year by food stamps, by SNAP. And today, the Republicans in the House of Representatives are going to cut those 4 million people out. I think they should just say, we've decided to put 4 million more people back into poverty, because that's what they're doing.
Now, it was interesting that yesterday, in this debate on the Hill over cutting this $40 million out of food stamps, members of Congress were quoting Matthew 25, both a reason, Matthew 25, which says, what you did to the least of these, you did to me. I'm paraphrasing. You could quote it exactly, I'm sure. But some members who, Juan Vargas from California, who opposed the cuts, right? He quoted Matthew 25 and said, I'm a Christian. This chapter talks about how you treat the least among us. I could not support this. But Reverend Stephen Fincher from Tennessee said, oh no, he reads Matthew 25 and says, what this means is the poor will always be with us. So therefore, what the hell, we don't have to do anything about it. What's the correct reading of Matthew 25?
Matthew 25 was my conversion text. It's the text that brought me to Jesus Christ. It's my conversion text. It says, I was hungry, I was thirsty, I was a stranger, immigrant, I was naked, I was sick, I was in prison. You didn't come to me. And all the people said, Lord, when do we see you hungry and thirsty and naked, stranger, sick, and in prison? He said, as you've done to the least of these, you've done to me, which means how we treat 11 million undocumented people, how we treat those who are hungry, how we treat those who are poor is how we treat Christ himself. That's what that means. There's another text, this congressman's favorite text, I'm sure, about the poor. He's quoting, the poor you will always have with you. He's even missing that text. The text comes from Mark, not Matthew, and it's where Jesus is with Lazarus, a leper, for dinner with his disciples. A woman wants to worship him with some expensive oil. The disciples complain, and he says, the text says, you will always be with the poor. What he's saying is, you're my disciples. Look where we are tonight. Look who we're always with. You will always be with the poor, so let this woman worship. Don't be so politically correct, he's saying, right? But when we're not with the poor, when we distance ourselves from the poor, we get the text wrong. And Mr. Fincher, as far as I've been told, has gotten $8.5 million in agricultural subsidies from a government that he says he hates as a Tea Partier. Stephen Fincher, you are a hypocrite, and you are an embarrassment to me as a Christian for being a Christian and being such a hypocrite when it comes to you're taking government money when you don't need it, and you're taking food away from hungry kids. He is a hypocrite and should be named as such. To cut food stamps, to cut from hungry people is unchristian and un-Jewish. And those members of Congress who say they're people of faith should say that.
Is there any way that, I mean, the idea that I find it incredible that these these Congress people could get away with this, right, at this day and age. Why isn't there more public outrage? And is there any way to, I think most of the American people would feel that way too, right? Jim, who are good people and people of faith and would say, no, this should not be a priority. Where is the outrage?
Here's the issue. You remember when a Republican senator changed his position on gay rights because he discovered his son was gay?
Rob Portman from Ohio.
Exactly. How would it change their views on food stamps if any of them had a son who was poor or any friends who were poor? I'll tell you how the pastors feel. The Circle of Protection, leaders of 70 faith-based organizations and 5,000 pastors are against this. Why? Because they know, live with, work with, have people in their parishes who are poor. Pastors across the political spectrum who vote different ways on different things are against cutting food stamps if they work with and know poor people. And for those who don't even know any poor people and who take money from the government themselves and then cut money to the poorest, this is simply, this is shameful. This is shameful. But, Bill, all of us, we tolerate this. I mean, we tolerate this kind of poverty. How we would not tolerate it if it were our own children, if it were our friends, our parishioners. We live in bubbles. We live so far away from each other. This town is full of restaurants, and liberals and conservatives dine there every night and easily pay the bills. But there are people who could never, ever go out for a meal in this town, not very far away from us. We all tolerate this, and members of Congress who say they're people of faith and who tolerate this this is. I talked to a member of Congress this week, a Republican, a conservative, who's voting against cutting food stamps because of his faith. He thinks it is sinful to vote against hungry people if you're a person of faith, and he's right. It is sinful.
You talked about going out for meals. As part of this Census Bureau report, it identifies defines poverty, the state of poverty, living in poverty. What it really means: $23,492 a year. That's just a little less than $2,000 a month for everything. Right?
For a family of four.
For a family of four, right. So you're talking shelter, you're talking food, you're talking medicine, you're talking clothing, you're talking transportation. These are not people who are going out to for a meal, if ever.
And there are actually, in these cuts, there are 2 million unemployed single adults who are going to be cut. Their average income is 22% of the poverty line. They make $2,500 a year. And they're being cut, their food stamps. That'll make them homeless. I mean, we must not know who the people are we're cutting to do this, or we're just cruel people. And so they do this, Bill, because they think it's safe. They want to cut spending, but they don't go to ag subsidies or oil subsidies or the Pentagon, and they won't even go after entitlement programs because they're so popular. So let's pick on the poor. The Republicans are picking on poor people to make their spending cuts, and they've got to be exposed for picking on poor people. I'm all for fiscal responsibility long term. I'm all for that. But you pick on the poorest people to make us fiscally. That's not even where the money is. This is utter hypocrisy.
Is part of the problem, I mean, I remember Bobby Kennedy certainly made poverty it was a burning cause for him and a passion for him. Paul Wellstone was the same. He talked about it. Bernie Sanders does today. I don't know. Is part of the reason that the political leadership doesn't even address this problem? I don't know that I've ever heard President Obama talk that much about poverty.
The Circle of Protection, which is the Roman Catholic bishops, the National Association
this is
of
the group
Evangelicals,
that you've formed on several issues.
Yeah,
immigration reform and
budget deficit issues. We keep saying all the time to the president, in the White House, to Democratic leadership, to the Republicans, all of them, our understanding of Matthew 25 is that we are really finally examined by how we treat the poorest and most vulnerable. The moral test of a society is not its gross national product, its military firepower, its popular culture being the envy of the world. The prophets all say it's how you treat the poorest and most vulnerable. That's the test of the righteousness of a society, the Bible says. And yet, even at 10% unemployment, right, even at that high level, well, 90% are still employed, right? That 10%, they don't donate to your campaigns.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of them don't even vote. So the politicians really don't pay much attention to the poor because they aren't donors or sometimes not even voters. So those of us who are middle class, who they pay attention to, they almost think Matthew 25 says, as you've done to the middle class, you've done to me. It doesn't say that. It says, as you've done to the least of these. So those of us who vote, who participate, must make it politically unsafe for politicians to pick on the poor. They pick on the poor because they think it's politically safe. We've got to make it unsafe for them. So we should watch today. We should watch who votes against food stamps. Who wants to cut food stamps? Right. Who wants to put 4 million people back in the poverty? Now, let's talk about who it is. There's a pastor asked me, I'm worried about dependency. What do you mean? Well, I mean that food stamp program. I said, really? Do you know that 72% of all the people who get food stamps are families with children, with the adult working in the house, just not making enough to feed their families? Working parents with children are getting food stamps. He said, oh, you should get that out. Yeah. Well, we're getting it out. Okay? We're cutting working parents and their kids who don't make enough money to eat. We're cutting their food from their tables. And I want to know who did that. I want to know their names. I want to know what subsidies they're getting. I want to know if they're people of faith. And we all should know who they are, what they say they believe, and I want to hold them accountable at their elections next time. This should be a moral issue for the faith community. We're going to do a faith count of these votes today and see who is going to cut food stamps while ignoring all the wealthy and all the powerful.
You've heard Jim Wallis say it. It's not going to change unless these those who are voting against food stamps are held responsible by the faith community. Be part of that. Join us at 866-55-PRESS with your questions, your comments for the Reverend Jim Wallis here on the Bill Press Show this Thursday morning.
This is the Bill Press Show. Like politics? Then like The Bill Press Show on Facebook. This is The Bill Press Show.
25 minutes after the hour now here on the Bill Press Show, the Reverend Jim Wallis, head of Sojourners. Their website the way to reach them is sojo, S-O-J-O, sojo.net. To your calls and your comments, Peter, first, quickly.
Quick story. We've talked to our friend Bill de Blasio from New York, who is leading in the, or is the Democratic candidate for mayor in New York City. Yesterday, he got a big endorsement, 2 big endorsements for that matter. Former President Bill Clinton and former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton both endorsed Bill de Blasio for mayor of New York City.
By the way, it's sort of related, not to get into that, but Bill de Blasio's whole campaign was basically about the fact that we got to do something for the poor and the middle class in New York, because the very, very wealthy in New York are doing very well, but we got to even that out, and he won a big victory there. So the Republicans look at the numbers on poverty in this country, and the response seems to be there aren't enough poor already. Let's make some more poor by cutting the food stamp program. Jim?
Well, opportunity is a word that Republicans like to use, and we're losing opportunity in this country. In fact, our social mobility in America now is less than Western Europe. It's less. So we have rising inequality and diminishing opportunity. And most people on food stamps are on them for a temporary time during hard times. All the data shows that. When the economy gets better, it should be reduced.
Right.
But right now, the census shows that the poor and middle class are not doing better, not recovering. Only the wealthy are recovering. So we have to protect people while that's going on. And when these Christians say, some of them on the right, that the churches and charities should do all this, the Pope says it right. We should be the church of the poor. He's exactly right. But the Bible says that governmental authority is responsible to protect the poor. The Bible says that. I'll have a theological debate anytime with any of these Republicans who say there's no responsibility for the government. Princes and rulers and kings are held accountable for how they treat the poor. The Bible says that.
It is important, Jim, that your voice be heard. I just want you to sit down with as many members of these Congress and call them to task, these so-called Christians up there, and say, let's practice the Christianity. And with that, I've got to let you go because we're out of time. But thank you so much for the great leadership, and thanks for coming in this morning.
And we all have to ask what we can do.
This is the Bill Press Show. Social with Bill Press. Like us at facebook.com/Bill Press Show. This is the Bill Press Show.
Here we go, 33 minutes now after the hour. On Thursday, September 19, the Bill Press Show, coming to you live all the way across this great land of ours on this Thursday morning. We're here in our studio on Capitol Hill in Washington, D.C., and brought to you today by the International Association of Machinists, the good men and women of the Machinists Union under President Tom Buffenbarger, sharpening America's edge on the global economy, you bet. And you can find about more about their good work at their website, goiam.org. We were just talking with the Reverend Jim Wallis from Sojourners. Republicans in the House have decided that cutting $20 billion out of the food stamp program is not enough. That's what the bill from the Senate would have done. They want to cut it even more, pushing more people into poverty in this country. Right in the front lines, fighting that move, our good friend from Oakland, California, Congresswoman Barbara Lee on our newsline this morning. Hey, Congresswoman, good to have you with us.
Hi, Bill. Good to be with you. Sorry, it's about a $40 billion cut in SNAP benefits, though. This is outrageous.
Yeah, right. So the House was $20 billion, right? Now the Senate was, right? The
House was $20 billion, and we defeated that. But then they came back came up and separated out the nutrition assistance from the farm subsidies.
Yeah, that's right. I think the Senate was maybe only $5 billion or something, right? And then the House said 20, and even 20 is not enough for these guys. What would the impact of $40 billion cut have on people in the food stamp program, Congresswoman?
Well, first of all, the impact would be the more people, of course, hungry. If you look at just my own state, we're going to have 346,000 people in California who would be, dropped from the roll. When you look at what is taking place in terms of food security, this is going to take people over the edge now. We're looking at, first of all, the new poverty rates show that we still have about 47 million people in poverty.
Yeah.
SNAP has kept people from being less poor, and we're going to have more poverty rates and more people living on the edge if, in fact, these cuts take place. And, in the bill also, they put these very onerous work requirements where now states, you have a 3-month period, and if you can't find a job, then so be it. Too bad. You're taken off of the rolls. And yet the Republican Tea Party members won't pass any type of job bill or workforce training, and they're just saying, this is going to be survival of the fittest. And it's really a shame and disgrace. Also, in the current law, which I don't agree with, but states have, drug felons, formerly incarcerated individuals, there's a lifetime ban against eligibility for food stamps. This would make that ban permanent, and states would not have an option to, opt out of that. So you're looking at women and children, women who can't find jobs, or daycare who are taking care of their children. They'll be taken off of the rolls. So it's very draconian. It's wrong, and I say it's un-American because this really does not reflect the values of the American people.
Well, Congressman, it just seems to me, when they're looking for targets, right, or ways to save money or ways to make government more efficient, they just go after the people who can least, who have the least and can least afford to lose anything more, right? I mean, the poorest of the poorest of the poor. Yeah,
that's who they are. They want to dismantle government, and they want to do it on behalf of the 1%, and that's who they represent, even though people in the Tea Party member districts have people who are low income, the working poor, but they don't really, their values are not consistent with what American values are, and that is to provide for the common good and for the least of these. When people, and Bill, I have to say, I was on food stamps for a few years, it was a bridge over troubled water. No one wants to be on food stamps. They want to work. And so you have to have a safety net for people so they don't fall through the cracks. The Tea Party members really don't care.
I'm sure in your district, Congresswoman, you've got a lot of people, a lot of whom who are on food stamps. How much money are we talking about, and what difference does it make in their lives?
Well, you're talking about, let me just break it down. If this $40 billion cut goes into effect, you're talking about 24 fewer meals a month for the average family of four. And so people are going to have to make choices. Will a child go without breakfast? Will a diabetic senior go without a nutritious lunch? This is wrong. You're going to see people in soup lines, and yet budget cuts are taking place that create more, problems with volunteer organizations who don't have access to the resources that they used to provide food for people. So we're going to see more people go hungry, more people in poverty, and more people who are, you're going to see ultimately income inequality continue to grow.
And more, as you say, more people in poverty. Congresswoman, yesterday the Census Bureau came out with these numbers. You referenced it earlier, how many people living in poverty today. Obviously, if you get rid of the food stamp program, there will be even more people in poverty, right?
You look at about 4 million more people who will be living in poverty. And let me tell you, Bill, the other thing is we have to remember that in the stimulus package, because of the hard economic times, we added additional resources. Thank goodness the Obama did this. For people recognizing the recession was taking its toll. On November 1st, regardless of this $40 billion cut, people are going to lose about $29 for a family of three, because Congressman Conyers and I are trying to get that restored through H.R. 3108. But everyone is going to take a cut in November, which again is a shame and disgrace.
So the kind of silver lining, there was one bright little spot in that census report which showed that one thing that has improved in the last couple of years is there are more people now who have health insurance and health care who could never afford it before because of Obamacare. And Congressman, just shifting gears just a little bit here, yesterday, John Boehner agrees with the Tea Partiers in his caucus that they're going to have this vote to defund Obamacare or shut down the government.
Sure. I guess this is the 40th or 41st vote to defund the Affordable Care Act. And you see the extreme measures they're willing to take against the 99% in our country. They're willing to take our country, again, over the economic edge and put at risk so many, first of all, our credit rating. Secondly, people's lives will be shattered by government shutting down. People don't have the resources to manage for whatever period of time, and they really don't care. It shows you just how far right the Congress is, especially the Tea Party members, and how far they're willing to go to take an assault against this administration and against the majority of the people in this country. Again, it's very un-American. I'm sorry to say that. But I don't think the American people want this to happen. They are more generous than this. They care about people. And these hardcore Tea Party extremists are trying to take the country over the edge.
So they're going to have this vote on Friday. Probably will pass in the Republican, probably pass in the House because all the Republicans will vote for it, right? Or most of them.
Most of them will.
Yeah.
Thank goodness we have a Senate and a White House, which will hopefully not allow this.
Then it's not going to go anywhere. So it's just sort of
it's a charade, and they know that, but this is what we're doing here in Washington, D.C. Instead of focusing on an agenda to create jobs, to provide education opportunities, to invest in our infrastructure, and to really get the economy going in a more robust fashion, this is what they do. And again, that's why I'm very focused on next November, the elections, because the elections have consequences, and we have to take back the House to have an agenda that's on behalf of the American people.
And finally, got to ask you. Last time we talked about Syria, Congresswoman. You were not happy at all about the prospect of a military strike against Syria, and now we suddenly did go in a different direction. What do you think about this possible deal? But for Bashar Assad to get rid of his chemical weapons, do you trust it?
I'm cautiously optimistic. I think that, the president's done the right thing, and we have to support what he's doing, and then understand why this is taking place. A military strike, in my estimation, as I said before, would create more problems, more possible collateral damage, more unintended consequences, more involvement in the Syrian civil war, and it would just wreak havoc, I think, on our own country in terms of our ability to invest more resources into creating jobs here at home. I think it's very dangerous.
Yeah.
And I'm very pleased that the president decided to come to Congress. And, we led a letter of 60-some Democrats.
Right.
And he, rightfully so, decided to come to Congress. And we engaged that week in a full debate. The country got involved in this debate. That's what we needed.
Yeah, now we got to let this process play out. Good to have you with us, Congresswoman. We'll see you back in studio again next time. All right.
Thank you.
Great.
Bye-bye.
Congresswoman Barbara Lee from California.
This is the Bill Press Show.
11 minutes before the top of the hour, winding up here on a Thursday, talking a lot, Thursday, September 19, talking a lot this morning about two related stories, really. The latest numbers on poverty levels in this country coming out from the Census Bureau yesterday showing that there are even more people living in poverty in 2012 than there were in 2011 in this country. 16% of the population, up to 46.5 million people. And the Republicans in the House of Representatives respond to that by voting today or tomorrow to cut food stamps by $40 billion, which would put 4 million more people in poverty in this country. So there aren't enough poor people. Let's make more of them is the Republican mantra. Peter?
Yeah, Bill, we've been talking about poverty all throughout the hour with our guests, and we've got a lot of great comments on Twitter where we're tweeting at BP Show. At BP Show, Pat says, Bill, these people who are getting food stamps and are in poverty, if they get their food stamps, it doesn't just get them out, it helps them eat. Phil says, you can't tell people to lift themselves up by their bootstraps when you take away their bootstraps. You could join in that conversation on Twitter at BP Show.
Excellent point. Pat has been very patient holding out in Beloit, Wisconsin. Hi, Pat.
Hey, Bill. I got to tell you, because I've had hard numbers, not just speculation. I'm right now in the building at Beloit Memorial High School here in Wisconsin, and there's about 1,800 students in our student body. It's a large district. District-wide, we have an 80% free and reduced lunch program. Now, I think that's probably in jeopardy also with this food stamp thing. And on top of that, we had 502 homeless students last year during the school year at one time or another.
Whoa.
How much? I mean, those are real hard numbers. So how do you take food away from 4K kids or high school kids and say, well, give it to corporate America? Many times they come in after a week and say, we don't have anything to eat at home, so I'm glad I'm back because you got to go to granola bar or something. I mean, this is true poverty, and it's a very diverse community, so it's not one particular section of the populace. It is across the board.
Yeah, and these are real people who are really going to be impacted by this program. The school lunch program is all part of this as well, but, Pat, we're dealing with a bunch of people who I guess they don't identify with the poor because they don't know that many or don't care or I don't know, it's just sad. It's sad. It is heartless and it is mean-spirited. Pat, appreciate hearing from you. Good work there in the schools out in Wisconsin and in Madison, Wisconsin. Here's Catherine. Hi, Catherine.
Hi. It's actually worse than you think. You see, because of the stimulus package, there was a 20% increase to food stamps that runs out in November.
Mm-hmm.
They get their cut either way. And I think we really have to start looking at the bigger picture. This is the American Legislative Educational Council that's been giving things like political support and promises after they get out of office to all these Republicans. This has been planned for a long time, this takedown. It's not happenstance. And they don't even realize the end result of the society that they're creating. Alec does, the Koch brothers do, but the people, the lackeys in Congress and in the legislature, really have no idea of what they're creating.
Excellent point, Catherine, reminding us of the power of ALEC, American Legislative Exchange Council. It's a front group for the Koch brothers. They're the ones we know that have written the Stand Your Ground laws. They've written the voter suppression laws in countless states, dozens of states around the country, having a big impact on the Congress. By the way, you're in Madison, Wisconsin. John Nichols from Madison, Wisconsin, in this week's Nation magazine, has an excellent article about how ALEC is also trying to, because they're such right-wingers and state legislators take their stuff and they just Xerox it and throw it into their state legislation. The John Nichols article talks about how ALEC is trying to keep secret what they're doing and doing all kinds of things to so people don't know where this phony legislation is coming from. Great conversation, folks. I'll be back and wrap it up with today's parting shot.
Go mobile with Bill Press. Download podcasts at BillPressShow.com and listen anytime, anywhere. This is The Bill Press Show. The Parting Shot with Bill Press. This is The Bill Press Show.
Well, you know, there are those who still believe the moon landing was a fake and those who still believe that the U.S. government bombed the World Trade Center on September 11. To those wacky conspiracy nuts, now add Congressman Darrell Issa. He still believes Hillary Clinton was responsible for the murder of Ambassador Chris Stevens in Benghazi on September 11, 2012. Issa has already held at least half a dozen hearings on Benghazi without proving anything, but that's not enough. This week, with no action on the budget, the debt ceiling, immigration reform, the farm bill, global warming, or an entire host of other issues, this week, Issa will be holding 3 more hearings on Benghazi with John Boehner's full support, and he's even threatened to call Hillary Clinton back for more testimony. Talk about beating a dead horse. You know, if only Darrell Issa was as interested in going after the terrorists who killed Ambassador Stevens as he is trying to embarrass President Obama, we'd all be better off. Folks, have a great day today. Come on back and see us again tomorrow morning.
This is The Bill Press Show.